Still with Morocco. Surely.
Explore Africa.
Encounter Africa.
Engage Africa.
Africa Independent Television.
AIT, sharing the African experience.
Hello, good morning and welcome to Kaakaki on Africa Independent Television AIT. I am Agora Oyesha.
And I am Fenami Oshomohai. Welcome to this Thursday edition of the show. I'm glad to be here. I hope you are too. Adora, the rain seems to have taken a break. I haven't seen rain for a few days now. The sky is clear and the prospect of a clear one day in Abuja is very, very bad.
You know what really makes me happy to say Thursday means Thunder Day, but
again with the Thunder Day.
The rain has decided to just take a little spell and have a break as well. So, you know, and especially...
So we shouldn't expect any thunder today?
No, not at all. We haven't seen... Okay, we saw a few in Sultakat, but I don't think in Abuja. But I think Satami, that's for the rain. Maybe the holiday too. All right, you might as well be predicting the color of the chameleon, Sana, I'm sure, if we go by your weather report. Well, you cannot trust the weather, don't mind her. At least in this season, bright now, and then suddenly cloudy with the heavens waiting to weep. Now, let's hope your prediction of a clear warm day holds, Sanami.
I am sure it will. The weather has been clear and warm all of yesterday and even this morning. So anyway, I don't expect to see rains, and I'm sure many of our viewers will wish to have a warm day as well, rather than a rainy day. All right. Let me welcome you again to the top of the hill and the top of the bill breakfast show on television. Of course, that's the African Voice, Kaakaki. Welcome.
You know, one thing about people don't actually really know that we are on top of a hill. We're transmitting from Padmore Hills, but if you're in diaspora, we are on top of a hill. We have to hike with mountain climbers, shoes, rucksack.
Please, with the drama.
well, as we look forward to a warm Thursday, some Nigerians in faraway Indonesia may just be walking down the aisle to the hanksman's nose. Ouch.
Ooh, although I felt bad when I read that story on Wednesday in the last National Assembly that efforts were made by the Senator Uche Chukwumerije led Senate delegation to get the Indonesian authorities to mitigate the death sentence of those 16 Nigerians.
Well, unfortunately, when the matter was raised in the Senate on Tuesday, Senate President said there was nothing the National Assembly could do for those 16 Nigerians.
David Mark also said those Nigerians are to be hanged, you know, who are to be hanged were involved in drug trafficking, an offense which carries the death sentence in Indonesia. All the same,
well,
it is sad.
It's sad, but I think it's, if you break the law, you pay the price, and it doesn't matter where you break the law. And I think they should have known better. It's bad enough people just go around giving us a bad name in diaspora. I mean, India, Indonesia, for crying out loud, come home and do some work. We need labor here. So enough of, it's not like my heart actually does go out to the families and
it
wives,
does.
the sisters, the mothers. and perhaps they also shared in the drug cake, but this is what happened.
Well, unfortunately, no matter the situation, unfortunately for them, they're paying the price with their lives, and it's again, like you said, it's a sad thing for Nigeria as a nation. 16 Nigerians going to be sentenced in another man's country. I mean, it's a terrible way to die.
But so now, what actually makes it really sad is that some of the people you don't even know when you're at home, when you're abroad, and you're in Nigeria, and they call you, and how are you? I'm fine. Where are you? I just came back from work. It's very tiring. 6 o'clock. They're doing drugs and sending you money, and you spend it, and you don't even know what their lives are like, and I think that's the illusions Nigerians have, that things will always be better for them when they leave the shores of Nigeria on the other side, and they get there, they find out that it's not even as easy as it's supposed to be, and then they're forced to do menial jobs and last resort do drugs or traffic humans.
Doing menial job, for me, it's not, there's dignity in labor, doing menial jobs. If your family keeps disturbing you, send us this, send us that, just by the virtue of the fact that you are in Europe, you would have to explain your situation to them. And well, if they don't understand, well, you keep your head high and do what you have to do. Success will come your way eventually, but you don't have to do drugs. You don't have to traffic.
The unfortunate thing is that they get there, the visas or the times on their passports elapses, and when they renew, they're rejected, and they decide, okay, rather than go back to Nigeria with nothing, I'd rather just remain an illegal immigrant or just be unlawfully engaged, and that's what happens. So because they cannot do any meaningful work that the government knows about them in the system, they do things that are blacklisted, and that is drugs, trafficking, prostitution, and all sorts. And so by the time they're caught up with the law, one, they face two things: deportation, and if it's so bad, if it's as bad as drug trafficking, they're faced.
It's unfortunate, Adora. I keep saying, I believe very strongly that we all have a choice. Now, the choice we make depends on us.
Definitely.
Everybody has a choice. No matter how difficult the situation, there is another choice. So, anyway.
Well, even as the Senate President thinks that those Nigerians are bringing disgrace to the country, Nigeria objects to the death penalty for drug trafficking. That is a national conviction based on what the Nigerian authorities should still get Indonesia to repatriate those Nigerians to serve sentences in Nigeria.
Above all, Adora, a Nigerian, no matter in what situation he finds himself, could still count on his country to stand for him.
Well, where's the lack of patriotism? But when it comes to drug trafficking, I think I beg to differ, Senna. But there is even a moral burden which the Nigerian nation carries. If those Nigerians have an economy that provided viable means of earning a decent and fulfilling livelihood, would those 16 Nigerians have gone into drug trafficking? It's another question.
Anyway, as those 16 Nigerians go to the hangman, the nation must admit that it contributed to the hanging of these people, this Thursday.
Well, talking about Thunder Day, what a Thunder Day is.
Oh, yes, I was asking you earlier that will there be thunder today? And, well, this is a blowing thunder.
For some. Talking about law and justice, another drama is playing out in the matter of the former president of the Court of Appeal, of course, Justice Aya Salami.
Yes,
that story makes me wonder. I'm just waiting for pot of pepper soup.
It's been a story that's been there for over a year. Justice Aya Salami as the president of the Appeal Court and
calling him back
the CJN and all that. And there's been this, the same body that's suggested that he be suspended and eventually sacked, has also asked the president to reinstate him. It's a drama that is unfolding, so we'll have to keep our hands crossed and watch. The National Judicial Council, which is the first instance, recommended the sack of Justice Salami because he refused to apologize to the council or withdraw his suit against the council. Is also the one recommending that the sacked justice be recalled and reinstated as president of the Court of Appeal.
Well, Tsunami, you see why I call it a drama? Well, the drama is getting more interesting. Justice Salami had a suit before a court when he was sacked, but one learned gentleman, barrister Noah Ajare, has headed to the court asking it to declare that all meetings, discussions and the recommendations for the reinstatement of Justice Ayo Salami by the President be put on hold, as it is illegal and unconstitutional because the matter is in court.
So when the case was brought by Ayo Salami to a court, the President could take a decision to sack the learned justice. But when Anoa Ajari takes the case to a court, the President cannot take action.
Well, so now
drama,
that is
drama,
the kind of justice that creates problems for our polities. And the basis for taking action is shifted to respect individuals, then people cannot trust the leadership. Now I hope that the President does not fall for this shifting sand recommendation.
Oladora, I am confident that President Goodluck Jonathan will not be tempted to destroy the respect of the Nigerian judiciary by allowing those shopping for judicial backing for political gains to mislead him.
Well,
he should know better.
There's still another theatrics going on. There's another drama, this time in Ogun State. I'm telling you. Sure.
What is that about?
All right. It is called the CAP drama.
The CAP? Tell me more.
Okay. Well, in Ogun State Civil Service, you can now lose your job because of the kind of cap you wear. And this is official.
Oh, hold on. You're kidding, right?
Yeah, like, you know, see the way you're wearing this nice little red ribbon. Looks good on you. You walk into the office and your guy says, "You're fired," for wearing a ribbon that is red.
No, that is not possible. Tell us more about this, Adora.
All right, okay. Here, this is how it plays out. It goes like this. A permanent secretary in the Ogun State Ministry of Information at an emergency meeting with management staff and information officers of the ministry warned that the wearing of a cap called the Otumba Gbenga Daniel cap now attracts summary sanction.
Oh my goodness. Talk about joblessness.
Joblessness or just...
Excuse me? What does someone's dress sense or someone's decision of style got to do with anything? As long as you're properly dressed, decently dressed, what matters what cap you wear on your head or what shape or what size it is?
Keep talking.
No, Adora, those... Are those old caps not the same caps the ordinary Yoruba folks wear? I mean, the black A2 cap, you know, the ones that every time every Yoruba man is seen wearing. It's called the A2. So, because I know that's what Governor Gbenga Daniel used to wear, and it's a Yoruba cap. So I don't understand this.
You know, I'm lost. Talking, you know, the cameraman is there pointing to his cap and saying, "You're going to fire me." This is not Ogun State. This is very much the FCT, and I don't think our minister wears any kind of particular.
What does he care?
Even if he does, I don't think he's that vague to say, okay, because you wear, because I wear a blue cap, you dare not wear a blue cap or you're fired. But I think that applies to civil service.
No, Adora, this is beyond funny. Actually, when initially the first thing you do is laugh when you hear something like this, and then you begin to wonder, and then you get angry. I don't understand.
Okay, I hope you will very soon. I think when you just relax and settle it, you will get the picture. Well, you're old though. If you have folks working in the Ogun State Public Service, you have any farmer, hunter, or cocoa farmer friends in Ogun State, please tell them that in their own interest, they must do away with their A2 caps, because the government in Ogun State is prepared to remove both the head and cap on it if the cap is the OGD A2 cap.
Well, when will politics in Nigeria stop creating red earrings? Maybe, or what does CAP have to do with road construction, improvement in education, health service, employment and security, which should occupy any government? Seriously, Adora, like I said, talk about joblessness, talk about pettiness, talk about just, what does it matter?
Please, Margaret Pasha, spare me. It's...
Adora, don't tell me you're in on this.
You know what I know? Let it suffice. Give it a few months. And I know the people of Ogun State, by the time everybody wears a red cap to work, I want to know how he's going to fire everybody at the same time, or maybe he might follow Governor Fashola in his stead and fire 700 and something doctors.
At least Governor Fashola seems to have a reason for saying
fine.
that.
But this one, I do not think it will.
Anyway, but I really do hope that civil servants in Ogun State
will not have it sitting down.
Exactly, will not, take it lightly and will stand and fight for what is their right. I'm entitled to wear anything that I want to wear, as long as my job is not, You
you just said something. You said, how does wearing cap look? I mean, people go to construction, they have to wear caps, helmets, cover their head. And what if the color of the helmet is red? Please. You know what I know is that people...
It's not even about the color, Adora. It's the cap. And I'm wondering, the cap really is, like I said earlier, it's a Yoruba traditional cap.
It's so unrealistic, so now let's just leave it. Let's allow the animation to play out. I think after a while,
okay, maybe we'll do it.
He'll get over it. That one I know for sure.
I hope they make him get over it. I hope it doesn't get the opportunity to just decide on his own.
Let's assume the Etu cap or the Tumba Benga Daniel cap becomes a white cap. Okay, they say change colors to white, and everybody else is wearing a white cap. Gets fired, and the red ones are left. I mean, come on, what is wrong with our Nigerians? I mean,
okay, let me
not go there. Well, as Ogun tackles the cap matter, the Nigerian Labour Congress is tackling with it and thinks it's a move to create discontent within its ranks, and I think it's true.
Yes, Adora, the NLC has for some days now been raising an alarm over an alleged move by the government to break its ranks.
Now, the NLC says the government is trying to create another labor center, which means an alternative body around which workers can organize themselves to protect their interests. And Labour seen any such move, come off it, to divide organized labor and make it weak to fight against government's plans to introduce further increase in the pump price of petroleum products, which is what they're trying to do, or how the Labour assumes that's what they're trying to do. Now, the fears of Labour is the focus of our interview this Thursday, and we also have a special package and the crisis in Abuja University, as well as on regular segments, cover story, special features, health tips, the drama, and of course, Sports Extra. Can you bid this package? I hear you. Okay, no, I don't think
this is the place to be. Don't go anywhere.
Let's take off.
Don't go anywhere.
Let's take off with updates on story-breaking headlines around the world. Stay with us.
Staying with us, this is the world news. The Nigerian Senate on Wednesday approved the increase in the number of federal high court judges from 70 to 100. The Senate read for the third time and passed a bill for an act to amend the Federal High Court Act 2005. The recommendation of the Committee on Judiciary for the number of federal high court judges to be increased from 70 to 120 was rejected. President Goodluck Jonathan has signed into law a bill that prescribes the retirement age of 70 years for academic staff of universities. The presidential advisor on National Assembly matters, Joy Emodi, told Senate correspondents on Wednesday that the president had to give speedy assent to the bill as a way of solving some of the controversies surrounding tertiary education in the country. Charles Taylor, the former Liberian president found guilty of perpetrating war crimes in neighboring Sierra Leone, has accused prosecutors of paying and intimidating witnesses as a UN court heard arguments before his sentence hearing in 2 weeks. Taylor told the special court at The Hague for war crimes committed during Sierra Leone's civil war that witnesses were paid, coerced, and in many cases threatened with prosecution if they did not give sentence statements seeking leniency. Taylor, who was convicted last month of 11 counts of war crimes, including murder, rape, and conscripting child soldiers, said he did not condone impunity in any form. Greek elections will be held on June 17, adding that a senior judge had been tasked with heading a caretaker government to organize the ballot. Council of State President Panagiotis Pikaromos, the head of Greece's top administrative court, has been named as caretaker prime minister. Political leaders agreed on the appointment with President Carlos Papoulias after an inclusive general election on May 6, which delivered a strong anti-austerity message and raised fears of a Greek Eurozone exit. The German Chancellor Angela Merkel has pledged to give $193 million to a year to help support Afghanistan security forces after NATO forces withdraw from the country in 2014. Merkel and Hamid Karzai, Afghanistan's president, held a milestone in relations in Berlin after signing a partnership agreement that ensured support for Afghanistan's police and military following the expected pullout of the foreign coalition. Pakistan has confirmed its president will attend the summit of NATO leaders this weekend in Chicago as negotiations with U.S. to reopen supply lines into Afghanistan continues. Nadeem Hotiana, a Pakistan embassy spokesman in Washington, has said that Asif Ali Zardari will attend the May 20 to 21 summit. Pakistan, which has endured a stormy diplomatic relationship with the U.S., closed the route in protest against the killing by U.S. warplanes of 25 of its troops. The trial of General Ratko Mladic, the former Bosnian Serb army chief accused of orchestrating war crimes and a campaign of genocide, has begun at a special UN court at The Hague in the Netherlands. Prosecutors at the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia made their opening statement against Mladic on Wednesday, almost a year after his arrest in Serbia and subsequent deportation after years on the run. Mladic is accused of 11 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity, including orchestrating the week-long massacre of over 7,000 Muslim boys and men at Srebrenica in 1995 during the Bosnian War. Chief coach of the Super Eagles, Stephen Keshi, says the team list for the international friendly against Peru on May 23 will be released on Friday. Keshi said the players in camp are mentally and physically ready to face their opponents from Peru before their Namibia and Rwanda encounter next June. Canada's Ben Johnson says he is still bitter over his Seoul 1988 drug scandal more than 2 decades after one of the Olympics' most infamous incidents. Speaking during a visit to Singapore, Johnson said it wasn't fair. He was stripped of 100 meters gold along with Carl Lewis to claim the title when it was later revealed the American had failed drug test. Those were the headline news. Kaakaki will continue in a moment. When we come back, it will be time for our cover story for today. Stay with us.
Explore Africa.
Encounter Africa.
Engage Africa.
Enjoy Africa's compelling,
Exciting
and breathtaking
experience
with Kaakaki,
the African voice.
Well, still a very good morning to you. This is Kaakaki, the African Voice, and of course it's time for our cover story, and we're focusing on Africans in India. Now, members of the Sidi community in India migrated from Africa to India over 1,000 years ago. They were sold into slavery in the West Indies as early as 628 after the death of Christ. Now, the most unique thing about these Africans is that Haven lived far, far away from home this long. They still maintain their Africa identity regardless of where they found themselves. That is the cover story for today. Let's take a look.
It's known as the Goma dance. It's Swahili for drum band. But this is not Africa, it's India.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
The village of Sasangir, thousands of miles from the African continent and hundreds of miles from the ocean that brought them here. Yusuf and his family are known as Siddhis, regarded by Indians as a lost African community living deep in the jungles of India's Gujarat state. It is likely that their ancestors arrived in India more than 1,000 years back on Arab dhows bringing slaves from modern-day Kenya and Uganda. Some 15,000 Siddhis now live in an area along India's west coast, in villages that for 1,000 years remained intact, with most members of the ancient African community earning a decent living as casual laborers.
Life was good 25 years ago. We walked with pride and we had good meals. We had good jobs. In all, life was good.
Christopher Peter, who is a teacher in philosophy, theology and research at St. Paul's University in Kenya, explains why this migration took place.
They were sold into slavery and as servants to work in the fields and in the houses and palaces of the West Indian states, especially in Gujarat.
But as India moves quickly into the 21st century, the community is in danger. While India's government provides support to the villagers, the country's swift development has meant that the way of life is starting to crumble. Casual labor is no longer sufficient to bring in a living wage. 23-year-old Nayan is a teacher posted to the village school by the Indian government.
If they coexist with other communities and are exposed to the outside world, they will surely succeed. Assistance from the government and others is not enough to bring them forward.
Yusuf and Aisha both earn their daily bread working on a quarter-acre sugarcane farm. The government of India has given the Siddhis a special status guaranteeing access to jobs and education. But many Siddhis say this is only posturing.
No one has given us support, not even the government. We are a discriminated tribe, and they call us Adivasi or lower caste because of our color. We work as casual laborers on farms, 50 to 100 rupees, and that is how we earn our living.
But Siddhi Bapu, a tour guide at the nearby Gir forest, disagrees.
We have benefited from the government. The ladies fetch dry logs from the forest for cooking and also sell to other villagers. She earns 50 to 60 Indian rupees from selling this. She will not spend this on the child's educational needs. Instead, she will gamble it away. Because of this, our people do not prosper. They have no knowledge. If the children are educated, these bad habits will stop and the community will progress.
In this school here in Jambul, the children are taught the Indian class 1 to 7 syllabus in the area state language Gujarati. Although the school is situated inside the village, only a small percentage of children attend classes. Like other remote places in India, Jambul and nearby villages lack access to nearby public health facilities. Literacy is amongst the lowest in India. Teacher Nana Patel hopes that education will provide a way forward for the people of this community. She has taught here for the past 10 years and is one of the 4 teachers educating a group of 200 pupils. Nana strongly believes that the only solution to improving life in this community is to ensure children receive the best possible education.
There are signs of success in their learning. From the very beginning, we use innovative methods to help them remember their studies.
Alpita, who's 5, attends Nena's school. Returning home late in the afternoon, she repeats her lessons to her mother Fuzia rather than playing outside with the other children.
For the last 2 years, my daughter has learned a lot. She can also speak English. I am really happy and I wish I can buy her a computer.
While India's economy booms, educational opportunities remain out of grasp for large numbers of rural poor, including the city community. Despite their special status, there are no guarantees they will be able to climb out of poverty. Yet they retain their sense of community, gathering regularly at dusk dancing to centuries-old rhythms, and somehow maintaining their links to a mysterious past.
Welcome back to Kaakaki, the African Voice, and I'm sure that you watched that cover story. Interesting. You know, Sanai, it makes me really appreciate Nigerians. We are all over the world. Well, some will consider themselves Black Americans, and others might say, well, whatever it is, an African is an African.
Yes, of course, you know that wherever you find a black person anywhere in the world, whether in America, in the UK, in Europe, France, India, anywhere, you can be sure that they migrated, they were carted away in the trade period, exactly, during the slavery days, and that's why they settled down in those places, gave birth, have children. They couldn't find their way back home, so they became citizens of that place. And you know, like you said, what amazes me is that anywhere you go, in every 5 blacks that you see, 4 are Nigerian.
Well, let's not be too lucky. Maybe not.
Yes, no, it's actually a statistics, you know, that was carried out some time back. And when I saw it, it was I think about 5 years ago. I don't know about.
That's a long time.
Yes, about 5 years ago. But then it was I was shocked. Wow. That much Nigerians leaving Nigeria.
Yes. And the most important and one of the beautiful things about Africans, let me not just settle with Nigerians, is that when you go everywhere, there's some African leading some people, a placement, a leadership with an African in charge of it. You know, we look at the issue of Condoleezza Rice. I mean, powerful woman. And she would say, I'm not a black, I'm a black American. Duh, what is before the American? Is it not black? You know, you go to England, you have, you know, the Walthamstow councillor, and it's all over. But the thing that amazes me is that we are able to break free from all that stigmatization and
break all barriers, break the limitations, break the boundaries, and just succeed at everything that we do. In most economies everywhere you go, especially in the U.S. and in the U.K., you find that Nigerians are one of the best surgeons, the best mechanical engineers, leading departments, leading in America especially. And I'm like, good gracious, Nigerians are so blessed. We're blessed with material resources, blessed with human.
Before we think we're biased.
I am not biased, Okay, Nigeria is my home, and I'm closer to it, and I know it better. So, yes, but then again, Adora, it brings my mind back to the reason why we can continue to have this brain drain and have our people, have the best of us move out of the country every now and then. Well, they've been invited a few times, but really, is the country ready
and I think for me, in that cover story, I think one thing I took out of it is that the Africans there are very little or not educated, and so it even affects the way the women raise their kids. And I think if the the Indian ambassador or whoever is in charge of that consulate should please do something about it. They call them the lost Africans, and I think it's about time they got found.
It's also called the CD community. Anyway, we have another special feature, and this one is a state and economic integration in Nigeria. It appears the fever of regional economic integration is catching up with states within the geopolitical structures in Nigeria. Almost all the 6 geopolitical zones have made moves to achieve one form of integration of the economies of the states within their region, fueling up this movement. In this cover story, correspondent Amici Nakwe takes a look at this new trend. Let's join him.
Federal system of government. Power and responsibilities are shared between the central government and the component states. At present, there are 36 federating states and a federal capital territory. Each of them operates separate government and economy. With the federal government also operating its own economy, the number of distinct economies in the Nigerian state is 38. That is, if you include the federal capital territory. The federating states in Nigeria are, however, evolving a new trend of economic cooperation and partnership. In a form of economic integration, the states have taken advantage of the 6 geopolitical zone structure to formulate and implement common policies, programs, and projects. In the Niger Delta region, the states there have organized themselves into the BRACE Commission. Governors and leading businessmen in the Southeast geopolitical zones are also united in pursuit of same objectives. The Odua states in the Southwest geopolitical zone are not left out. The Middle Belt states within the North Central geopolitical zone are also towing similar lines. There are also moves by states in the Northeast to institute similar structures.
The Middle Belt is one of the most endowed parts of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I want to take the opportunity of this conference to really say to all those who have been given the authority to govern our people that the time has come to explore those vital resources.
When you talk about the United States of America, we're talking of the states, 50 states. But I'm sure you've heard of the Midwest in the U.S. The Midwest is a representation of states in that particular Midwest region. And they do meet. So you see, it's nothing unusual.
The move towards economic integration based on geopolitical zone structure appears to lend credence to the arguments of those that are of the view that most of the 36 states of the Federation are not viable and cannot stand on their own.
36 states without oil revenue are probably 30 or more states that are not viable. You understand? One way to deal with that challenge is this integration. So we form a stronger economy and we support each other's economies.
The move towards a form of economic integration by states of the Federation is coming at the same time calls for the reduction of the 36 states to 6 regions based on the geopolitical zones is getting louder. This feeling is strengthened by the perception that the 3 regions, Northern, Western, and Eastern, in the post-independence days, initiated laudable development agenda. Yet, in spite of the anticipated huge benefits inherent in the economic integration moves by the states, questions over its sustenance have been raised.
I think the beginning for the evolution of a true Nigerian state is being set now.
Yeah.
The process itself has started, and the people have to invest energy, faith, confidence.
It also must not be made to be too regimented to the extent that states that share common boundaries that are not necessarily located within geopolitical zones are not partnered with in order to be able to resolve some of the burning problems of the absence of infrastructure.
There are equally fears that the regional groupings could weaken the cohesiveness of the country.
And I want us to do something to create the spirit of patriotism. Let us think of Nigeria first and foremost.
The economic groups formed by the states appears to have given them some form of strength in their unity. It appears the federal government is willing to allow such states take over some of its responsibilities as classified in the exclusive list of the Constitution.
These things are drawn from our quest for true federal structure. We have an overbearing federal government, a very overbearing federal government. Like if you look at the exclusive list in the Constitution, you see that we have 63 items there, if I am correct. A whole 63 items.
But we also say to ourselves that not just for the governor to be collaborating, the people themselves must begin to collaborate. Our investors, we have big-time players in the banking, in the telecoms, in the media, electronic and print.
So far, there have not been serious opposition or criticism of economic integration moves by states of the Federation. It appears interest groups within the Nigerian Federation are ready to welcome any move towards rapid development.
Well, it's interesting, you know. I saw Governor Shemola there considering he started, you know, we were surprised yesterday the way he kicked off his
campaign. Big time.
Like, wow.
I was like, yes, indeed. But I must commend Governor Shemola for his doggedness. You know, of course, he was...
of what happened.
Yeah, in the last 3 weeks, he's been attacked on various fronts, including one of his aides, you know, personal aides, being murdered in Nim City, Edo State. Also, when he was allegedly attacked, you know, and attempts were made on his life during, you know, a drive. He was in a convoy traveling to, I think, Afuke or something like that, and then 3 journalists died in that accident. A very unfortunate incident, but all the same. And just 2 or 3 days ago, he was made the Man of the Year by is it Champions newspapers? Yes, I think Champions newspapers.
It is time to shine, like some would consider. Well, before we go commercial on that, you're being paid for it, we're going to go back to the special features for this morning, and this one is called Wildlife. Now, the Democratic Republic of Congo holds the 2nd largest rainforest basin in the world. However, human encroachment is threatening this massive rainforest, as usual, and endangering its animal species. One of the most endangered African species in this region is the bonobos. The bonobos are a monkey species whose 99% genome is similar to that of humans. You know, when they say human is closest to a monkey, well, this might actually be a close reference. They have, however, become a source of meat and other economic uses for some people. The need to preserve the species and wildlife in general is the basis for the special feature. Sit back and enjoy.
Ils arrivent dans un état lamentable, physiquement et psychiquement. Et ils sont là.
Interesting. I mean, looking at that monkey, you know, when the lady was scratching the head, we're like, scratch me some more, you know. And it's wonderful because what she was trying to say is like their physiques are just so replica of the human beings. And you see the one that was being put in the truck. Look at the feet. Look at the way the hands
really look like human.
Alike.
And more than they, you know, crouch in both hands and legs, they stand, you know, on both feet, and that's really interesting. I must say, I was looking at that lady and I'm like, ooh, nice. And did you see? At least 3 or 4 monkeys were jumping on her, all at the same time. Apparently, they're used to having her around, and obviously are very fond of her. Obviously,
you know,
very
what
fond of
reminds
her.
me of that lady? She reminds me of Elizabeth Hart. I think they look very much. I won't be surprised if she's
the one.
Because she was one of the first white women to actually do a documentary in DR Congo, and I think in Kenya, with monkeys, where she lived with them for almost 4 years in the rainforest. And before you could know it, she could even start to interpret the whinings and the monkey chirpings and interpret them to a language. And you know, those people just get up to some very funny.
You know the way they say it in Nigeria, Oyinbo get time.
You know, but actually with them, with that theory, a lot of veterinary doctors are able to, you know a lot about the species.
How to deal with them.
Yes, and I think it's a good way to go. Save more. How could you be eating a monkey that looks like that?
Exactly.
That's like you're eating a human being.
And how can people even think of eating a monkey? What? Oh God, there's nothing people cannot eat.
But imagine you went to a restaurant and they give you this meat and you ate it and it's delicious. Like, bring more. And you're like, wow, delicious. And then after eating, then you're about to pay your bill. And you ask them, I'm sorry, madam, what dish is that? It's a monkey delight.
I'll puke in her face. I'll pick it all out in her face.
Oh, but
I don't know if you were to
pick, come off it.
If you were to pick a pet,
okay,
would you pick a monkey?
No, of all the pets I've ever had, I think the craziest I've ever had is actually a chameleon, because I just like the way it gets missing. If you put a chameleon close to maybe a green material with a white shade, it will take the shade of the white and you will not know it's there, you know. But monkeys
that's why the chameleons.
I think monkeys are a bit too close to humans. I might get afraid if you just wake up one morning, monkey. That's all right.
Oh, of course, that is not going to happen. Come off it. Well, I'm not a pet person, but
are you serious?
Yes. But if I ever decide to pick one, it's going to be a parrot.
A parrot?
Yes, it's going to be a parrot.
I just knew that would work.
What do you mean by that?
Nothing really. I just thought that you guys have it covered. All right. When talking about pets, you know, one thing is, you get a pet and nothing is keeping them and managing them. It's just like you have to, okay, let me use for example, you buy a dog they sell dogs on the roads. Sometimes I was driving through Meta Man, this is really cute Chihuahua dog, and the man was willing to sell it to me for 6,000 naira, and that is the cheapest I've seen a dog being sold. It's not even a puppy.
Oh, I'm sure you stole that dog somewhere.
It's not even about the theft of the dog. It's about whether the dog is healthy. Cheap. You know, sometimes you're not healthy, they're not kept right, they're not fed right. And some people do actually buy these dogs. And when they buy them, they die maybe 2 weeks because they don't even take it to the vet to check them and appropriately.
The reasons why you shouldn't buy a pet on the road.
That's exactly my point.
You know, the road, or even buying drugs on the road, or even buying food or things to eat on the road in traffic, because sometimes a lot of these things you buy them in a hurry, the guy's moved on, you don't know, if you don't check the expiry date, you eat and then you get food poisoning, you know. And so the same thing with pets, for them to be selling it on the road, what's the guarantee? Okay, if I have a problem with that pet, where do I go to?
Definitely.
Where do I go to? I might get to the same point where I met you the day before and you're no longer there. So what happens? So people should learn not to buy things. It has never been safe. I heard of a story of a guy who went and he usually has this severe stomach ache, and he bought this drug in the bus, and he was told that it cures all forms of pains. If you have a headache, if you have leg pains, if you wake up, as long as it's a pain, it will cure it. And about 10 p.m. or about 7 p.m. Later that evening, he took half of the bottle. Now the drug had no prescription, it had no dosage, it had nothing, and he took it. He felt relieved. About 11 p.m. it took more because he was starting to feel the pain again, and he didn't wake up. Long and short, he died. He didn't wake up. Adama is here.
Adama is better talking about medicines and all of that. Good morning. Oh gosh, this is absolutely taken.
It is.
Give me your best. Just give it to me.
I like Sanami's today. So Sanami, if you take your dress off and give it to me right now, I'll give Adora my dress.
Oh, this is lovely.
So test of love. She didn't love you enough.
Forget it.
Do you love her enough today?
Nah.
Sorry, Adora. She doesn't love you enough.
No, don't mind. It's not about the love. It's just I can go naked on national TV.
Well, I'm sure it won't be traumatic. I'm very, very sure it won't be. Good morning, ladies.
Lovely
you look radiant this morning. And good morning to you out there. I was looking at the special features, and first of all, I thought, why would people discriminate against people who have lived in their land for 1,000 years? It now becomes your land too. Well, the only people I discriminate against are people who have migraine headaches. I'll discriminate against giving them knocks or slaps. So that's the only kind of discrimination I have. And then looking at the monkeys, well, I think a lot of Nigerians will look at them and think, oh, bushmeat. And so that's practically what it could be. And if I ate a monkey mistakenly and it tastes good, I don't think I'll really mind that it's a monkey after the fact if it tasted really good.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, after the fact. I mean, I wouldn't go and kill a monkey and eat it. No.
So if someone gives it to you,
the dancing is too ugly.
She will puke when you tell her that.
Because I'll feel like I'm just
eating human.
I won't puke because if I've eaten it and it's already there and I enjoyed eating it, well, that's after the fact. So what can I do? But I enjoy the meal, and maybe next time ask, is this a monkey? Yes, take it away. Is this a dog? Yes, take it away. Is this a rabbit? Yes, bring it.
No, if it's a crocodile, I'll eat.
A crocodile? Yeah, where I come from, crocodiles are supposed to be sacred. They are sort of revered, and they don't get killed. So if you come to my village, don't kill a crocodile, or else you might be in trouble.
In my place.
Oh, leave me alone, ladies. Let me get to it. Let me get to my people. My people are waiting for me with their coffees in their hands or their teas in their hands. Well, I'm still talking about migraine, and that's why if you have a migraine, I'll be discriminatory and I won't give you a knock or a slap. But let's talk about the preventive medications that you may be a candidate for preventive therapy if you have 2 or more debilitating attacks in a month. Now, if pain-relieving medications are not helping, or if your migraine signs and symptoms include a prolonged aura or numbness and weakness, preventive medication can reduce the frequency, severity and length of migraines and may increase the effectiveness of symptom relieving medicines used during migraine attacks. Now, your doctor may recommend that you take preventive medications daily or only when a predictable trigger such as menstruation is approaching. Now, in most cases, preventive medication do not eliminate headaches completely, and some cause serious side effects. But if you have had good results from preventive medicine and have been migraine-free for 6 months to a year, your doctor may recommend tapering off the medication to see if your migraines return without it. The following medications, as recommended by your doctor, can achieve good results. Cardiovascular drugs, which are basically beta blockers, are commonly used to treat high blood pressure and coronary artery disease, and they can reduce the frequency and severity of migraines. Some are also effective for preventing migraines as well. Now, the calcium channel blockers are another class of cardiovascular drugs and also may be helpful in preventing migraines and relieving symptoms from aura. Researchers do not understand exactly why these cardiovascular drugs prevent migraine attacks, but the side effects can include dizziness, drowsiness, or lightheadedness. Yeah, lightheaded, like your brain has gone somewhere. Antidepressants certain antidepressants are good at helping to prevent some types of headaches, including migraines. Some types are often prescribed for migraine prevention and may reduce migraine headaches by affecting the level of serotonin and other brain chemicals. Now, you don't have to have depression for you to benefit from these antidepressant drugs. How many people even take antidepressant drugs in this country? I'm not quite sure, but let's move on. Anti-seizure drugs. Some anti-seizure drugs seem to reduce the frequency, reduce the frequency of migraines and may be helpful if you have migraines with aura. Now, in high doses, however, these seizure drugs may cause side effects such as nausea and vomiting and diarrhea cramps and hair loss and dizziness. Now, let's look at cyproheptadine. Now, this antihistamine specifically affects serotonin activity. Doctors sometimes give it to children as a preventive measure. Believe this or not, people, botulinum toxin type A, aka Botox. You will not believe this, but Botox, botulinum toxin type A is actually approved for treatment of chronic migraine headaches in adults. And then during this procedure, just like you do when you want to be beautiful and not have frown lines or whatever, injections are made in the muscles of the forehead and the neck. Now, when this is effective, the treatment typically needs to be repeated every 12 weeks. Who would think that Botox actually does some good apart from making you look like this? You're happy? You're sad? You're angry? That Botox just freezing up the muscles of your face. I'd rather age gracefully than have Botox. But let's go to the mail of the day, and then I'll come back to you on my thoughts over that. Okay, mail of the day is already here before me. Hi, Adama. Hope you are well. Yes, I am. Thank you. I used to have pain on my upper arm shoulder. Sometimes it shoots through my chest to my back. I have taken pain relievers to no avail. Can you help me with some prescription, Mr. Joe? Are you serious, Mr. Joe? Oh, come on. You can't be asking for prescriptions just like that, off the air, off the hat, just like that. You know that the doctor who is treating you, who you go to see, would need to know which of the shoulders is affected, whether it is the right or the left shoulder. Now, if the left shoulder pain, this is my left hand, left shoulder pain could be suggestive of a cardiovascular disorder, and it's called referred pain. Also, chest pain that radiates to the back can be suggestive of any of the following. It could be esophageal reflux disease, it could be peptic ulcer disease, it could be a heart condition, but it's important, Mr. Joel, that you visit a hospital so that a thorough assessment and workup will be done to ascertain the cause, and the appropriate treatment for you will be commenced. Okay, so that's the best thing to do, and that's the smart thing to do. If you want to be referred, you can always ask us and contact us, and we can always refer you to a doctor. If it's a neurological thing, then you could also be referred to a neurologist, and you can get the best help that you're able to get. And so as I wrap up and come back to this happy duo, would any of you ladies consider having Botox injections? Botox? I think I'll pass. Why? Do you want to have lines and wrinkles on your face? I think there are other ways, there are other treatments. Like? And, plastic surgery? No, I think, Adama, it is actually not a bad thing to actually age gracefully. Just get used to it. You're meant to be young and be old. And that's how I just put it, And I can think of so many beautiful women out there who are aging beautiful. I mean, Jaka Silva is ageless. Oh, she's ageless, ageless, that woman. She just doesn't go old. She has played mother to Richard Mofadamijo. She has played wife. She's played all kinds of roles to the same man. And she fits perfectly. It's just amazing. Jaka, I love you. If you're out there listening, you are a beautiful, beautiful, amazing woman. But not everybody ages as beautiful as Jaka Silva does. So some people will want to find a solution if they're aging faster than they think they should, of course. Not that that is a solution, but at least it gives them some respite, makes them feel good about themselves, and give them some amount of confidence. But if you start early to put in some hard work, if you start exercising early, especially when you're hitting 30, 35. Post 35, that's when the wrinkles and all that is supposed to start appearing. So if you're using anti-wrinkle creams, if you're using anti-aging creams, and you're shielding your face from the sun, you're exercising, eating enough fruits, drinking enough water, trying to stay happy, dealing with stress, sleeping well,
but
I think you will.
Back to differ. I know somebody who said if you start too young, like, she knows a girl that's 22 using anti-aging creams and wrinkle default, and so you're too young to use this.
22 is too young. From 35.
22 is too young.
It's designed for women from 35 above.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And some say aloe vera is good too.
Yeah, it is. It is. Only that I find that it sort of darkens my face. That's me. Okay. So I don't go near it.
All right.
Okay, thank you, Adama. You didn't have wrinkles.
I'm taking this.
Oh, thank you. Not yet. Hopefully, God, maybe in another 30 years.
I'm taking this.
I join you. We'll age gracefully.
Stop trying to make. I'm taking this rest. Just wear it for the last time when we leave the show.
Okay, if you insist.
All right, we've got to the floor manager is saying it's time. All right, up next is Inside Nigeria.
Oh, she can't wait, can she? All right.
We'll be back. Thanks for staying with us. The Minister of Information, Labaran Marcos, cautioned opinion leaders in Nigeria to show restraint when making public statements. The minister, who was speaking with State House correspondents in Abuja, was reacting to the statements credited to the former military ruler Muhammadu Buhari. Buhari had said on Monday that there may be violence if the 2015 election is rigged. Marcos said public statement must carry the virtues of peace and civility, as violence could be counterproductive following the current challenges in northern Nigeria.
It is critical and important that all of us who are stakeholders in the Nigerian project should weigh whatever we say such that it will aid national unity, it will aid national development, it will aid peace, particularly now in northern Nigeria. Any statement that is made, not only by politicians, all Nigerians, all of us, we have a duty to ensure greater peace, greater civility in our polity.
According to the Information Minister, the media owes Nigeria the responsibility to launch a campaign against enemies of peace in the polity. Nigeria's House of Representatives has mandated its Committee on Aviation to investigate the functionality or otherwise of security gadgets in all airports across the country. This is coming amidst fears that the current renovation of airports has dislocated and disrupted scanning machines and vital security gadgets.
There is now the urgent need to restore the existing walkthrough, ground search, and other mental and security detection gadgets capable of releasing relevant details about passengers and other persons accessing the airport's vital zones.
Nigerian youths have been challenged to take their destiny in their own hands by creating a better tomorrow for themselves through enormous opportunities that abound in the country. This was the summation of participants at a forum in Abuja on Wednesday to celebrate the achievements of the young Nigerians who were drawn from various schools in the FCT.
How can they contribute positively to making Nigeria better, to making their lives better, to reducing poverty in the land? How can they create tomorrow today? So by encouraging these young achievers, we're actually reaching out to them even before they graduate. That is why we give a lot of importance, a lot of support to this, so that before our students graduate and they become out there, they are actually sensitized.
Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, says it will engage in sector-by-sector campaign in its anti-corruption crusade. Chairman of the Anti-Graft Commission, Ekbo Nta, said the ICPC will create a desk in all its offices to strengthen the fight against corruption. The ICPC boss made this new initiative public when he played host to the National Association of Nigerian Students and National Association of Polytechnic Students. Chairman of Dar Communications PLC, Alegu Dukwesi, is happy with the development strides in the Imo State Imo State Governor Roches Okorocha is making. Dukwesi made the commendation in Owerri, top management of the communication outfit, on a one-day working visit to the state.
That I'm particularly impressed by this upcoming institution, an institution where skills can be transferred to our young boys and girls. It is very true that our educational system is a classroom-based one, and any effort to practicalize it, to instill and transfer skills to staff or to the young ones is most welcome.
Ahead of the May 23rd International Friendly Match between Nigeria and Peru, opinions are divided among football enthusiasts on the composition of the Super Eagles. While some favor the team anchored mainly around home-based professionals, others prefer a blend of home and foreign-based players.
The new Super Eagles to be anchored on home-based players, because even the players that are playing abroad, all of them went abroad from home, and they are Nigerians. There shouldn't be any kind of policy that will deny any Nigerian the opportunity of playing for his fatherland.
That's Inside Nigeria. Kaakaki continues in a moment. When we come back, just stay with us. We'll be right back.
Lesson 1.
Of course she is.
I wanted to avoid it, but I thought of running away.
You thought of me? What are you doing here? David! Do you want your game man to stop me from entering your house?
I want to let you know that I will win the competition.
When the thunder strikes, the earth shakes. When the burning spear strikes, there comes confusion, detestation, deception, disbelief, love, and dismay. Trust in man is deadly. Your close friend, your worst enemy. The Burning Spear. Burning Spear, a story of multi-identity, suspense-filled, educative, and entertaining. The Burning Spear.
Come on, let's go.
From sense of nowhere. It's just a bunch of prejudices about the different communities, but nothing substantial about the cause of the conflict.
It is becoming expensive to have you there.
If it was you that lost your brother, would you do it?
Family Time. flesh.
To be seeing my daughter every day is not small money.
Your daughter, when he's concerned, my pocket is never afraid. I will do everything.
Yeah, I don't like anything that has to do with jazz. Like, come, you be like hungry, never. Why are you rich, Abby?
You know nothing about football, so there's no point asking. Organize your cup and not do your body. This one not the couple.
Oh, well, see, baby, it's not my money.
Millennium Tsunami, how that advertism. Well, we don't want to go commercial, so
no, we don't.
Let's forget. All right, if you're just joining us, this is Kaakaki B, African Voice, and if you missed that special feature on wildlife, talking about the bonobos monkeys, well, we're going to take it back again for you to have a special preview of it. So let's go back to DR Congo.
July, 6 young mountain gorillas were being returned from Rwanda back to the Democratic Republic of Congo. The big apes, previously rescued from traffickers in different parts of Rwanda, had been smuggled from the DRC. The gorillas had to be injected with tranquilizers before being flown to a Congolese gorilla. A small inconvenience, though, compared to what could have happened to them. Sold as pets, encaged in zoos or worse, turned into bushmeat. Sadly, they are of course not the only ones to be threatened. In Kinshasa, DRC, the animal orphanage Lola Bonobos, Paradise for Bonobos in Lingala language, has been rescuing young bonobos since the mid-90s. With almost 99% of their genome similar to ours, the bonobo chimpanzees are humans' closest relative on the planet, and as the gorillas, they are on the list of the most endangered species. But a baby bonobo can sell for $60,000 US on the black market, so greed takes its toll, and forget about the animal itself.
They
arrive in such a poor physical and psychological condition, but they are here as part of the preparation of the big project, the Great Bonobo Sanctuary, where ecotourism will be possible. You know, bonobos are very shy. You cannot approach them easily. In addition, they have a natural immunity problem with humans. They catch illnesses from us. So their stay in this nursery allows us to prepare them for this project, which will give them a different image than just the forgotten monkeys.
Those babies in Lola bonobos have a huge impact on local populations, gradually raising awareness of the importance of preserving biodiversity. In the mines, the idea of a better balance between nature and human needs is slowly taking place. But the path might still be long to avoid seeing this in some Western African food markets. However, as far as the bonobos are concerned, a solution seems to be on its way. Within the last few years, far away from the capital Kinshasa, forest reserves have been created in the Congo heartland, the bonobos' natural habitat. Amongst them, the faunal reserve of Lomako Yokokala, accessible only via a 25-hour river trip in dugout canoes. This protected area spans 3,625 square kilometers of rainforest. Here, no more land conversion, no more logging, legal or not, and least as possible human encroachment. Set up jointly by an NGO, the African Wildlife Foundation, and a Aristotle, the Congolese Institute for Nature Conservation, it has met a surprising success with usually suspicious local populations, probably due to the fact that it is the only conservation area in DRC that fully cares for communities' concerns.
On ne peut pas conserver sans développer.
Donc vous dites à la population, abandonnez la forêt.
Conservation cannot go without development. If you say to people they have to leave the forest, you have to compensate them with employment for them to be able to survive. And with infrastructures like roads, schools and hospitals.
I am a tracker in the reserve and I'm happy with it, since I now have money to feed my family and pay for my children's school fees.
The reserve hosts a cutting-edge scientific research center dedicated to expand knowledge of the bonobos and the forest-rich ecology. A real achievement when one realizes the obstacles that had to be overcome, including in officials' mindsets.
When you talk about an international NGO for conservation trying to set up protected areas, etc., it automatically provokes with quite a lot of authorities still the idea of conservation for conservation and chasing people out of the forest and not considering their traditional rights.
A key success factor here was that the reserve creation plans have involved the local populations from the beginning. As an example, to ensure the most effective outcome, the proposed boundaries of the new wildlife reserve were first submitted to the communities bordering the forest. But then one had to account for villagers' susceptibilities.
Every piece of forest belongs to one or another locality. So now in the beginning you had like this tension between people from this locality, Papa Bosco, and people from another locality, Papa Mangi. But what we try to explain is now this is one forest, and we try to valorize or give added value to this one forest.
Employment as rangers and trackers for all villagers around the reserve finally made antagonists ends meet. And today, everyone in the area feels concerned by the success of an ecological adventure that brings development to this. Even if at the end of the day, it remains impossible to make everyone happy.
You know, conservation is not an easy task. For instance, you may have to side with hunters who are quite unhappy about new regulations forbidding hunting into protected areas. Of course, their main activity is hunting. Obviously, they will not support your presence there. Fortunately, the majority of the population understands the importance of our work, and without such an approval, we would not be here.
Last June, the UN released good news. The rate of destruction of the world's 3 largest rainforests fell by 25% this decade. No doubt this is partly the result of a new approach to conservation, such as the one implemented in the Lomako-Yokokala Reserve. And one thing is sure, neither the forest people nor the forest wildlife will ever complain about this.
Well, you're welcome back. Some will call that dancing to save the monkeys, and Senami, you would agree with me. The children were singing and like just thinking of him.
Jubilation that the monkeys are safe, and good reasons to dance too.
All right, if you're just joining us, this is Kaakaki B, African Voice, and of course it's Thursday. Now we're going straight into the interview segment, and today we're talking about the new labor platform, How Real Are NLC's Fears. Now, over time, organized labor and welfare of Nigerian workers has been a critical voice when Nigeria has been confronted with difficult decisions.
Yes, when when military rule became a national body, organized labor stood up to be counted in the fight to end military rule in Nigeria.
Now, Labour has been at the forefront in the struggle to entrench a progressive and accountable democracy after the exit of the military.
Even in defining and implementing policies that touch the ordinary Nigerian positively, organized labor has remained in the vanguard of the fight to get governments to be focused on that objective.
Talk about the exit of the military. For instance, in January 2012, when the Nigerian government removed subsidy on petrol, causing an astronomical increase in the prices of goods and services, organized labor rose to the challenges, forcing the government to partially back down on the policy.
However, the capacity and strength of organized labor to adhere all of these lies in the workforce which it controls. Labor now says there are moves by the government to divide the workforce with a view to weakening labor and clearing any resistance for obnoxious policy of increasing cost of petroleum products by total removal of subsidy. Labor says government is attempting to push a bill that will create an alternative labor center to which workers can affiliate.
Now, questions arises from the NLC allegations. Is a Nigerian worker under compulsion to belong to the Nigerian Labour Congress? If the new bill seeks to compel labor leaders to obtain the consent of workers before taking a decision on their behalf, would that be against the interest of the workers? Why is NLC afraid of an alternative labor platform? Indeed, what are the real fears of NLC? These are the issues in focus this Thursday, and we have, of course, joining us in the studio, we have Mr. Omokoro Egugbo Kolobia, legal practitioner. You're welcome, sir. I hope I got that name right.
Yes, you got it.
And I'm joined by Comrade Owen Lakemba, NLC Acting General Secretary. You're welcome again, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I saw you smiling. What are the real concerns of the NLC in regards to this matter?
Well, first, when governments are confronted with challenges, they usually find easy ways out. And in the case of the Nigerian Labour Congress, back in 1988, the government succeeded in breaking labor into two, the NLC, and we had those we call the Democrats and the Progressives. Fortunately, we had a new leadership of the NLC, led by Pascal Bafuyao, who merged these two groups together, and since then we've had one central labor organization. Unfortunately, Pascal Bafuyao passed on 2 days ago, and we are still mourning him. And we think it's part of our own culture, tradition, and what we need to pass on to have a united labor center. Secondly, we are not saying the government is trying to bring up a bill. There is already the Trade Union Amendment Act of 2005 by the Obasanjo administration, which decided to break the labor, the central labor organizations. And under that law, when you have 12 industrial unions, they can apply and form a new labor center outside the NLC. And of course, the Trade Union Congress took advantage of that in 2005, and so you now have 2 central labor organizations in the country. Now, what is going on now is that our affiliates, we have 40 affiliates in the Nigeria Labour Congress, industrial unions, have been approached, to leave the NLC and form another labor center. Now, under the Section 40 of the Nigerian Constitution, Nigerians have the freedom to associate, freedom to form political parties and trade unions. And so, nobody's saying that you must belong to a particular trade union or even belong to the Nigeria Labour Congress. But what we are saying is that freedom must be respected, especially by those who are not workers, who are not trade unionists, who are not labor leaders, by those who are politicians, who have something to gain from what they are doing. And so we are saying that if there is freedom of choice, let the workers decide. Do not entice them. Do not bring up monetary enticement or anything. Let it be natural. And I think the workers are quite comfortable with the NLC. And even the Nigerian people are comfortable with the NLC. It's not just, we do not just appeal to workers, we also appeal to the Nigerian populace. And the Nigerian populace has come to accept labor as a possible organization that will defend their interests, no matter the cost. And so, what those in part are trying to do now, is to try to break that, because they do not know what other measures they will take, which we will oppose. For instance, they decide to impose a new, regime tariff in the electricity sector without consulting Nigerians. They simply announced, this is what we're going to do with effect from June 1. Again, it's part of the military mentality we've had. And after doing that, and then carrying out all sorts of false propaganda on television, get the increase, and then the lights will continue to be on, when we all know the lights are off as far as, energy is concerned in Nigeria. Then they now, then you had the president, say about 2 weeks ago to say, look, Nigerians have not been sensitized about these things. We have not been consulted. So please don't go headlong with what you're trying to do. But apparently they didn't listen to the president of the country, and they're trying to go ahead. So politicians, leaders, people in government know that if Nigerians are to mobilize against all things, that the NLC was like to be in the forefront. And so that's the whole thing about trying to entice people. We are not afraid of anybody breaking up the NLC, because ultimately the Nigerian workers and the Nigerian people will decide who they want to support.
All right. Let's look at what the dangers are if the government, as you say, what they're trying to do, cause a divide, create a divide in the Nigerian Labour Congress. If they succeed, because although first of all, I'm wondering, is it just the government you will tell not to entice people from the NLC, or members of the NLC themselves will allow themselves to be enticed? Because like you've rightly said, it is not, what they're doing is not illegal.
Yes.
So what is the danger?
What the government is doing is illegal, but if anybody wants to leave the NLC, it's not. There isn't. Now, if we go back in October 2003, President Obasanjo then had made a broadcast to the country that the Nigerian Labour Congress was trying to overthrow his government, and so he brought up this bill. And his own solution to what they see as the NLC menace was to create a new labor center called the Trade Union Congress, TUC. But they found out on the long run that it was just an exercise in futility, because you see, workers are workers, unionists are unionists. So when you try all this sort of subterfuge, you may not actually succeed. And that's what happened in the case of the NLC and the TUC. And so they thought they could bring up an organization to fight the NLC. But what we simply did was to bend over backwards and accommodate the TUC. And today we do virtually the same things together. In fact, it's difficult to find a difference between the TUC and the NLC today, because we organize things together, they made it together, symposia together, strikes together, everything together. And so they think it's a futility. We think that can also happen. But you see, on the long run, we said in the statement we issued on Sunday that we must not take things for granted in Nigeria. We must also look at events happening in various parts of the world. In West Africa, Mali was a stable polity. Then some rascals simply came up and used a stupid excuse, and they put the country into political problems. The same thing has happened in Guinea-Bissau. Mauritania is under military rule, although the general there says the president. So you have all sorts of problems, and we think the trade unions are like a buffer zone against these people who might try, to carry out what is not constitutional. And so we think these people in government are being myopic. And we said something that we are quite confident, and we are sure that President Jonathan is not backing this. And that's why we appeal to him to say, look, there are fifth columnists in your government who are trying to derail the political process. Please investigate and call them to order.
Okay, Barrister Mokara, you heard what Comrade Blackenfer has said, and he said something, and I'll refer back to Section 14 of the Constitution, where he did mention that there was a right to actually join any trade union of your choice. But he also actually said that it's also illegal for the government to do that, but not illegal for anyone who wants to be NLC. What's your take on that?
Well, my take is, he is right when he said that the Constitution guarantees Nigerians to form any association or belong to any association. No doubt about that. Now, with respect to, mind you, it is an allegation. So far, we don't know what the facts are. But it's just an allegation. Now, in any political setting, one thing that is very common is your ability to lobby, persuade, cajole people. Now, if the government wants to do that, well, there is nothing that stops them from doing it. There is no law that stops government or any other person. In fact, in the National House of Assembly, one of the things they do when bills are being proposed is they lobby to get support. So it is not out of place. In almost all political settings, you must find lobbying and all of that. Now, like your co-presenter actually said, I think what the NSC needs to do is to go back and enlighten their followers. It is very important, because yes, government may want to lobby, they may want to entice, but it's up to the members of the NSA to say, no, we are not interested in forming. It is when they are now being, so to say, forced, when they are being forced to join another organization, that's when you cannot be talking of an illegality. But as it is right now, there is no such thing.
Barrister Mukuru has just said that it is still an allegation. I'd like to know what are the facts, because you seem to be taking this very seriously. The NLC seem to be taking it very, very seriously. What facts do you have on ground about government trying to, create a new bill that will enable a new trade union to exist?
Well, like I said, the government does not need to create a new bill. There's already a law that gives people, and of course the Constitution also, that gives people the right to freely associate. And we had our conference in March last year, and we had one of our leaders who was not happy about the election results. He wanted to return as deputy president. And since then, it's like, so to say, he stood aside, Now the government is aware of this. Our affiliates have been approached. Not just our affiliates, even at the state level. There are labor leaders at the state level who have been approached, to look at this option. Now look, this is necessary. These guys in the NLC are not only, some of them will say we are dictatorial, but that we're anti-government, we think there's nothing good in government. And we are, more or less that we are politicians. The last strike was actually to, derail the democratic process. So there are these things, and they come, we get feedback. They come back and say, do you know that we are approached by ABC? Do you know we have been approached by this group? Do you know we are this thing? I will continue to get these reports. Now, the first plan was to have NSC splits before the fuel subsidy removal. This was from last year. And but that date was fixed for April 1. Somewhere along the line, somebody in government decided that rather than wait on April 1, just make it January 1. And so that was not done. And they saw the problems they had. And so they just gone back to the drawing board. Say, look, if we are going to do other things, we must get these people, broken up. And so that's why they're approaching our labor leaders. They're approaching some of our industrial unions. They're even approaching our people at the state level. And so what we thought we should do was not just to alert the nation, but also let the president know. Because we looked at it, we analyzed it, and we do not see what is going to gain by, engineering another political or labor crisis. We don't see what the government, stands to gain, beyond the fact that there are still people in government who are campaigning openly, for the removal of the so-called, the balance of the subsidy, so that will go back to 140 naira, 145. And so that's why they are still spending a lot of money, on adverts, as on, jingles and other things like that.
But so, NLC has actually said that it's not against the regulation. So why is NLC continuing?
The federal government is not doing deregulation. For Obasanjo's period, all they are doing is increase the price of fuel. Finish. Diesel increase, kerosene increase, PMS increase. That is not deregulation. If it were a question of deregulating, then we can discuss that.
All right.
And we cannot be unreasonable to any reform process. And that's why when we were going on strike, the presidency said, they are setting up a panel, a committee under Justice Belgore. They announced it everywhere. Up to now, that committee has not met. They met only once, and that committee had no terms of reference, had no agenda, and up to now we have not met. So we're saying that if it's about deregulation, if it's about prison, if it's about anything you want to do, let's discuss. We have the men and women who can discuss with you.
Okay. Barrister Umoko, Comrade Langit has talked about discussion, and of course said it's not really that the government is talking about the regulation. Now let's come back to January 1st. Seeing what happened on January 1st, some would argue that the government is afraid of the power of the NLC and what they are capable of doing, and perhaps they could actually be the reason why they are, let's say, based on the allegations, want to create another trade union that will be pro-government and for the works of government. Now, let's look at that. Do you think that it's enough reason for, and if the government wants to create another trade union?
Well, my take on that is, first of all, government doesn't need to do that. You don't need to. I think the problem we continue to have in this country is we're not honest with ourselves. The government is not just honest, and the government expects Nigerians to just be, in quotes, follow. It ought not to be so. There was something very interesting I read this morning from one of the judicial authorities, and the Honorable Justice was trying to say that, look, government should realize that the followers, the citizens, ought to be informed about what they intend to do. And I think that is the problem. There is a communication gap between the government and Nigerians. And it's unfortunate. You see, and another thing I want to say is that Nigerians, for once, maybe apart from June 12th or thereabout, Nigerians for once came together January this year to fight against that unpopular policy or decision. So I think, first of all, the Nigerians should look at, we all as Nigerians, we must not give up. This is our country. We do not have any other country to run to. So we must participate. We must, everything government is doing, we must be involved. Even what is happening in the National House of Assembly, we must all be involved. If they take an unpopular decision, if they don't consult us, there is nothing that stops us from rising to the occasion and fight against such policies. So government should always inform the people what they plan to do. And for me, they don't need to create another trade union center or whatever.
So you're in agreement with this frame of thought from by Comrade Lakefa that the government uses military tactics to inform Nigerian people of its plan, because you actually rightly said that nobody knew that the tariff was going to increase, but it was just thrown at Nigerians. Yeah,
you must realize that we are just coming from the military regime. Yeah. So
it's been 10 years.
Yes. Oh, unfortunately, it will appear that our minds have not been reformed, because we still think almost everything. For example, you hear such things as immediately. You know, when they do appointments, it takes immediate effect. Policies, immediate effect. Now, there's this particular incident that's been heating up the policy now, and that has to do with the reinstatement of Honorable Justice Salami as the President of the Court of Appeal. You know, it's unfortunate. If you recall, when the NJC did their recommendation for his suspension, it was swift. Now, they are saying, we recommend that you reinstate this man. And almost a week now, we have not gotten anything. So people now begin to think, okay, maybe government has something to hide. Why is it that when it has to do with, for example, if it has to do with something that affects the populace, it will take a slow process before it is achieved. But if it has to do with government interest or their policy, overnight it is done. And so, you see, again, it comes to the issue of the military mentality. We're having problems. I think government, and I must say that President Goodluck Jonathan should, as a matter of urgency, think about what is going on and see what he can do to always make sure that it gets across to the Nigerian populace. It's very important. Otherwise, people will have various misconceptions about what is happening. For example, if the government had come up to inform the public that, look, Trade Union Congress, you people, I think it is important that you can have another center. Why not do that? We think it is good. Maybe the labor minister also comes up to say such things. This allegation would not have been there. But because they've left it, they are trying to do it in a clandestine, although it's an allegation, clandestine way. So people are forced to have various opinions. In fact, when I got this information, I had to go and do one or two research. And the only thing I got, funny enough, was the statement that was issued by NSC. What is the government saying about it? This statement was issued on Sunday. Government up to now has not reacted. So that is to tell you that they don't want to divulge information in spite of the Freedom of Information Act. So this is the problem. And even right now, people are still having problems with the Freedom of Information Act. You go to government establishment, you should know that. Journalists who go to government establishment, this is what we are looking for. We want to get so and so information. And they don't do that. So it's unfortunate.
So you're saying that they should keep the people abreast of every information?
Yes, everything. It is the right of the people to know.
All right.
They are governing us, so they should give us information.
Comrade Lakefa. Yes. Peradventure, the government succeeds in creating another, in convincing labor, some members of the labor union to create another trade union. Now, what is the danger in that for Nigerians, for instance? Because, but I am looking at it from this angle. If you've been able to create a good relationship and do things together with the TUC after it was created, is it not possible, if peradventure this happens, there's another trade union created, is it still not possible to work together as one voice and one body and still be able to fight the cause of the average Nigerian?
Well, first, you know, there is this whole issue after the strike of serious campaigns against Labour. And we know the source of most of these campaigns, i.e. that we negotiated with government for 97 naira. And the truth is that we negotiated with no government. We had no negotiations whatsoever. The 97 naira was an imposition, and the government knows it.
Okay, I'll just hold you on that from the spot. Yeah. The phone lines are open 094-625-203, 094-625-203. Please call us and give us your contributions.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So we had no negotiations, but they put it there on the net, campaigned amongst Nigerians, that no, these guys negotiated with us, and then there is 97 naira, and of course there was an inducement. So a number of people have this misinformation that the NLC or the labor movement was induced to suspend the strike. And they think by that they can destroy the labor movement. So that when they increase the price again and we ask people to come out, the public may say, no, what they did last time, they sold out. Now this kind of disinformation and misinformation is on, which is different. Now in terms of what effects another labor center will do, beyond just proliferation, which does not make sense, I don't think it will do much. If the government tomorrow, succeeds in having 5, 6, 7, 10, 100 labor centers, and they carry out policies that are patently anti-people, you find that there will hardly be any labor center that will go to the side of the government and say, yes, we support you for these policies that are against the Nigerian people and against the Nigerian workers. But let me also inform, you see, you need 12 industrial unions to form another labor center. Okay. It is unlikely that they will get these 12 from the existing unions in the country.
So why is NLC worried?
We are not worried. But the simple thing is, what is the trade union center? So they are trying to now also get associations, because they couldn't. Like I said, this was planned for last year, but they couldn't get any number.
All right.
And so,
sorry to hold you on that thought. We have a caller coming in. I'm sure she wants to contribute. Cecilia, good morning.
Hello.
May we have your contributions, please?
And please, Cecilia, turn down the volume of your TV set.
Yes, my name is Cecilia. I'm calling from Abuja.
All right, go ahead.
And my contribution this morning is, please, Adora and Tsunami, keep emphasizing to the government that they must make laws that will be beneficial to the people. We are talking about strengthening institutions. Remind them that no one leader is meant to remain at a place forever. Leadership is transient. They are not going to enjoy well-being forever. It's all transient. They should make laws. They don't think that because they are there, they want to muzzle the people. Just laws that will strengthen our institutions. Kill NLC. They are going to come out, and eventually NLC will keep fighting for the people. Create another institution because you're there and you want to make laws that will not benefit the common man. Eventually it comes back to you. Tell them. That is my contribution. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cecilia. We will tell them indeed. I'm sure they're listening right now. All right, comrades, do you have any comments on that before you continue with?
No, I agree completely with her. Except to add that, you see, the problem we have in Nigeria, like in many African countries, is that people assume that once they get elected into office, or they get into office by whatever means, then the people have lost their sovereignty. Whereas we are supposed to be part of government, part of the process. You get it? There should be something that, some feedback, especially when you make, because we're all human beings, and even collectively, a group can make an error or a mistake. And all that can happen is that when the people come out and debate and say, no, we don't agree with you, they look at it and you consider it. But unfortunately, and this was our experience during the strike, when you tell government officials that, they say, yeah, well, we made our error, we made the error, so please understand, because the government cannot go back. Because if we go back, we'll be seen as being weak. And this government has to be strong. Already they think the president is not being very firm. So please help us. I said, no. that actually under a democracy, when the government listens to the people, then it's a show of strength and not a weakness. But that's the mentality. And another point, thing we discovered during the strike was that when the National Assembly brought us together, that is the government side, the presidency, and Labour, and we're discussing, and the National Assembly, or the president of Senate says, okay, NSC, what's your position? Or TUC, so this is our position, these are our demands. And then say, okay, government side, where are your demands? They had none. It gives the impression of people who did not want to be seen to be saying something that somebody somewhere may say, no, why did you say that? And so there's a problem. Because you see, democracy and all this, ministers and people in government should not be yes men, not necessarily. So that if there are things to advise government, they should actually come out and say, yes, this is what we are saying. And so when you then had a position, government says, I power delegation to meet an organization, and it has no position. So what are you going to discuss? And that's part of the problem. So government must ensure that Nigerian people, one way or the other, contribute, to the process of governance. The fact that you are elected does not mean, we lost our sovereignty.
All right, thank you, comrade. Edward is calling us from Abuja. Edward, good morning to you. Edward, good morning.
How are you?
Very well, thank you, Edward.
Can you hear me very well? You two ladies are looking good. How are you?
Thank you.
Yeah, please, I want to contribute to this program. Yeah, the gentleman sitting there, the acting secretary, it has always been a culture. Whenever labor calls for any strike, we ate and everybody joined hands. And I want to assure him that the reason is that we don't have any place to cry or to show our grievances or to contribute or to tell the government directly that this is what we don't want or this is what we want. It's only through the labor. So if there is any default in that labor, we feel angry. That is why whenever, if you look at the whole strike from Comrade Ashimale, even the letter, the honorable comrade that just passed out, and the recent one, it has always been, even if it is increased from 11 naira to 13, it will not come back to 13. It stays, it will not come back to 11. It stays there. So we find it difficult. You are the only hope of the common man or the worker. But whenever things happen like this, we find it difficult. It has never come back from 11 to 13 and come back to 13 again. It either remain at 12 or 12 points. So the people are beginning to lose the credibility we have, the interest they have in you. That is why the government is finding a way to make sure, okay, now you look at the recent strike. Some people were saying, I know we are supporting the government. And if you look at those few miscreants that are doing it, you understand that it's the government that just wants the other people to know that they have support. Well, they don't have. And look at the little thing that happened during the strike. The subsidy was removed just for like 2 or 3 weeks. And at the end now, you can see the proof that the subsidy removal went to those private pockets. So you can understand how long the government will now go to make sure they still get another thing that will go to another private pocket.
All right, thank you very much.
Me, I'm advising you, Labour, please, whatever you're doing, make sure you do it for the interest of the worker.
All right.
And whatever, no matter how you've been threatened, if you are really doing for the real cause, people will always support you. Now, still making it as an allegation. Look at the lawyer there that is telling you that is an allegation.
Elected to few cases to wrong the government, then we leave them and go to sleep. It is not starting with even the councillor. Ordinarily, the councillor, the honorable member, they ought to get back to their constituency, get report, get feelers, inform them what is happening in the house, and then from there proceed back to the house. But you agree with me that even in your own constituency, you don't even get any feeler from the person that is representing you, both in the National House of Assembly or even the councillor at the local government. So that appears to be the situation. But Nigerians, we must participate in governance. I'll give an example. Recently, I think there has been advertisement, newspaper publication, that there's going to be a constitutional review The question I'm asking is, what are Nigerians doing? Particularly labor organizations. What are they doing? NSC, Trade Union Congress, we have civil liberty organizations, Nigerian Bar Association. All these people we all represent various interests. We should come together, begin to fine-tune our position, and send our memorandum to these people. Very important. Before you know what is happening, of course the Constitution gives them the right to go ahead and enact laws. Before you know what is happening, they are going to pass first reading, second reading, and then before you know it is a law. And then we start shouting and screaming. So now that they are starting this process, let us all get involved. Nigerians must be involved. So if Nigerians decide to come out and they say they want to go on strike, there is nothing that stops them from going on strike. So I think the problem we're having is because people, they've lost confidence in government. So since NLC appears to be the only organization that is championing the cause of the common man, why not? They have to go in line with whatever they are saying.
All right, Comrade, I'm going to come back to you. Edo did talk about mistrust and the fact that the NLC is the last hope of the common man, begging that the NLC should try and continue to stand firm in defending the rights of the common man. Now, why do you think that some Nigerians are beginning to mistrust the NLC? For instance, just like you said, after the strike in January, some people came out and said, oh, NLC has been sold out. NLC sold us out, and that's why they called off the strike. It is important that the people trust NLC. So, what is your position?
Well, first, we are not that Nigerians, trust us and they support us, and it's our onerous responsibility which we have to carry, and we're quite honored about that, and we're trying to ensure that we stand by it. Now, talking about the issue of the strike. First, don't forget that the federal government is a very large organization. All sorts of security agencies, propagandists, neighbor to neighbor, whatever. They have all these organizations. Now, what do these organizations do? They have the means and the capacity and the finances to carry out propaganda and misinform if necessary. And so that's what we found, that a lot of them are doing. But they are not the only group. There are also those Nigerians who are quite genuine, who felt that, look, that strike was for reversal from 140 naira to 65 naira. Anything short of that must be a sellout. There are Nigerians with that mindset. But we were the people in the field, and we found, one, that the government had given directive that the armed forces be turned out on our streets and take by force Lagos, Abuja, Kano, and some other cities. And we thought that this could be a bloody thing. And our own question was, now what do we do? Yes, we knew we could still go on and still confront the soldiers and everybody on the streets. What will we get at the end of the day? So we looked at it and said, look, if this government has become so desperate as to send armed people to shoot Nigerians on the streets, we should also not become desperate. And so we took that decision, partly out of trying to ensure that there was no bloodshed, because our strikes are peaceful, our protests are peaceful.
Okay. I'm going to hold you on that for myself. We have someone calling from Asaba. Someone, good morning. Please, can you reduce the volume of your television set so that we can hear you loud and clear?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Let's have your contribution.
This is Famous speaking from Warri Delta State.
All right, go ahead with your contribution.
Yes. Thank you very much for bringing the program to air. Yes. And you are doing a very good job. What I want to contribute to the program is...
Simon, we hear an echo from your call, so please reduce the volume of your TV set so we can hear you.
Simon? All right, okay, thank you for the appreciation, but please, we would like you to fall back with contributions as well. All right, please, go ahead.
Yeah, so there are those people who think that, look, once you had nothing, you do have 65 naira, then there must have been a sellout. There are also, of course, in our view, those people in politics who felt that it was an opportunity for them to get even with the ruling party. And we said, no, this strike is we have our own focus, we have our demands, and we have our objectives. It does not include anything about any political party. Go ahead. Yeah, in any case, if the political parties were effective, especially the opposition parties, the NLC will not be made to play the role it's playing now. We'll then have more time for our own members. But unfortunately, we also then saddled with this position because the political parties do not seem, to be quite effective in opposing beyond making statements and sometimes insulting each other, which doesn't really make sense to us because the demands of the Nigerian people are very clear and very simple also. What do people need? People, like somebody was talking about, when you're talking about the age, the man was saying he was very happy because now he could put food on the table and send his children to school. What do Nigerians need? Put food on the table, send your children to school. And if they fall sick, be in a position to take them to the hospital. We're not asking for more. And so the demands of, we're not asking that, build us mansions, ensure that we have many airports and other things. No, we're not.
Okay, none of this coming back in for, a long struggle, especially what is happening in Nigeria. What are the issues that are particularly sensitive to the NLC right now in the Nigerian politics?
Well, the issue of the inflation, mass unemployment, also the threat of mass job loss as a result, one, of government's decision to reform certain agencies, again without consultation, and also scrapping some agencies without consultation. And of course, there's also the private sector that continues to casualize permanent job. You set up a factory, you need hands permanently for the job, then you then employ them and pay them almost daily or something, So there are these old problems. And of course, for all of us Nigerians, there is a serious issue of insecurity everywhere. And we think that the best people that can fight insecurity are the Nigerian people. No matter what you do, no matter the equipment you have, no matter the amount of arms, no matter the countries that are helping you to fight terrorism, nobody can be as effective as the Nigerian people. Just this morning, I heard that the security agencies, discovered some arms depots or something like that in Kogi State. Now, if the farmers who go to the farm, the passers-by, the people in the community, they are likely to know when there are suspicious movements and other things like that. So you need that. You need the Nigerian people. That's our primary message to the government at any level. Please bring the people closer. Do not let them. You see, when your people become desperate, then you cannot control them, and then they become cannon fodder for all sorts of groups. What we are saying is simple. There is no reason why a Nigerian child should go to bed hungry. We have enough money and enough resources in this country to ensure that. To ensure that we have unemployment benefits for our citizens.
All right, comrade. We have Olalekan is calling us from Abeokuta. Olalekan, good morning. Abeokuta, Olalekan. Hello? If you're there, Lekan, please turn down the volume of your TV set and then give us your contributions.
I think
we can hear Lekan there.
Having the technical difficulty, but please call us back. We would like to have your contributions, most definitely, and of course get it coming. Now, Barrister Mukor, I think you've heard what Comrade Lakensa has also said. Now, do you think that going for street demonstrations, strikes, and of course we also heard about the probe that when Save Nigeria Group was also threatening to also call their own demonstration, and they came here and told us that a strike is not the ultimate goal, which particularly
will not achieve anything.
Yes, will not achieve anything. Well, from your own experience, of course, as being a Nigerian and from your own experience as a lawmaker, what do you think is the best solution, the best way to go about this, especially at this time?
Well, I think government must come out, like I said earlier, to give the people information. There must be consultation. Call the NLC, call Trade Union Congress, speak to Nigerians, consult, seek advice before you do anything. Let me tell you, it was God Almighty that saved us at the beginning of this year,
why do you say
it
that?
would have become something else. Like he rightly pointed out, Nigerians wanted to remain on the streets. I spoke with a lot of people. I had calls. Nigerians actually wanted to remain on the streets. And that's why you see that people were saying NSC sold out. Nigerians wanted to go on. And it would have become something else, because what we already had examples from places like Egypt and other Arab countries. So it was becoming very popular for people to remain on the street and fight government. And only God knows what would have happened. So if NSC had not probably taken the step they took by trying to agree with the proposal of government. So you see, government must try to consult. Government must try to reach out to the people. You have a policy, you want to implement it. There is nothing wrong when you discuss with those who are concerned, who will be affected.
All right.
When you discuss with them and they tell you, we don't like this thing, then it means that you have not done your homework. You go back, try to get more information.
That interview segment is about over. We've been asked to round off. All right, no problem. Yes, comrade, one last word. A word.
Well, the simple thing is that when we are, when we are capable of moving tens of millions of people on the streets, our ultimate objective is also to bring them back home safely. You get it? And so that's why this whole thing about we should have gone on, because like you said, only God knows what will have happened. But as human beings, we can't see, we can't analyze, we can say, look, this thing will lead to this. What should we do? And we thought it was not going to be in the interest of the Nigerian people if we went on. So we decided.
Thank you very much. And that's why the sentence is you extra word, but
sorry.
It's all right. Thank you so much. Nice having you on the show. And of course, you have kind of said we started with how real at the end NLC fears, and you people are so unafraid. I think that's what transpired. We had the barrister Umokoro Evubulo Colombia join us, and he's a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigeria.
And we've been joined also again by Comrade Owel Lakemfon, NLC Acting General Secretary. Thank you for coming to Kaakaki this morning. And thank you, Cecilia. Thank you, Samun. Thank you,
Edward.
Edward, for calling. Thank you for all your contributions. We appreciate. And of course, we get into the top of the hour, and Pan Africa is next. But please do stay tuned. We will be right back after this timeout.
Thanks for staying with us. ECOWAS forces are now better prepared and ready to intervene in the political crisis rocking the sub-region. ECOWAS President Kadri Ouattara gave this indication while exchanging views with journalists in Abuja. Nigeria's House of Representatives Committee on Foreign Affairs says it is not true that 6 Nigerians were deported from Egypt. Addressing newsmen, the chairperson of the committee, Nnena Ukeji, said investigations revealed that only 3 Nigerians were denied entry by the Egyptian authorities after its security procedure, while 150 other Nigerians on the same aircraft were allowed entry. 7 die in South Libya clash. 7 people have been killed and more than 20 injured in clashes in Libya's western desert town of Ghadames. Government officials blamed armed groups from outside the town for the violence. Unconfirmed reports say the clashes were between president and Tuareg tribesmen, Mamados, who roam the desert. Renegade General Bosco Ntaganda, who is wanted by the International Criminal Court, is still forcing young stars to fight for him in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Over the past month, nearly 150 young men and boys have been recruited in the east of the DR Congo. Those who escaped talked of being taken at gunpoint from schools and villages. A man has been arrested on suspicion of helping to carry out an attack on a nightclub in the Kenyan port city of Mombasa. He was one of 5 people injured after explosive devices were thrown into the popular club. Armed men lobbed what are thought to be grenades after they were denied entry to the club for refusing to be frisked by security guards. A renowned Ivorian sports journalist and analyst, Mahmoud Gaye, has called for a change at the top echelon of African football. Gaye, who was a guest on ARK Sports magazine show Sports Today, said that African football under the current leadership of Issa Hayatou is dwindling as compared to other parts of the world. That's Pan-African World. Kaakaki continues in a moment. Stay with us, don't go anywhere. It's still the Thursday edition of the show.
The only problem I have is with people making silly and grave mistakes, especially in marriage. You are a nurse and not a marriage counselor.
A yellow man that doesn't like sharing some of my personal effects with anybody.
Women are not regarded as personal effects. Blessing time is over.
Get many of progress.
If my husband comes and say, make I no work, I go quickly fine.
Budgeting. Questions such as, do we need an NMPC in the first place, must be asked. My view, we don't.
This is the field officer. He has the responsibility to ensure all operations regarding arrest and all that is conducted in the usual manner.
Engaging emerging topical issues in the polity.
The mere fact that we pay for 24 million liters of petrol on a daily basis, which is not, is shocking. And I think now people should be resigning their appointment.
It was to be a business, but it has become another arm of government, and it's also suffering from the malaise that have bedeviled government in Nigeria.
We want a good Nigeria.
That are benefiting at the IOCs. Why? Because they have a tax regime, a royalty regime that was framed over 42 years ago.
Control in. Still with Morocco. Surely.
Explore Africa.
Encounter Africa.
Engage Africa.
Enjoy Africa's compelling,
exciting,
and breathtaking
experience
with Kaakaki,
the African voice.
Now listen. The law is now beyond argument that the effect of a nullification of a thing
Explore Africa.
Encounter Africa.
Engage Africa.
Enjoy Africa's compelling,
exciting,
and breathtaking
experience
with Kaakaki,
the African voice.
Still a very good morning to you. This is Kaakaki, the African Voice, and of course it is time for us to look at what the newspapers are. Headline story Jonathan arrested.
Explore Africa.
Encounter Africa.
Engage Africa.
Enjoy Africa's compelling,
Exciting,
and breathtaking
experience
with Kaakaki,
the African voice.
We apologize for that technical hitch. Sometimes it does have to happen. All right, we'll start with Vanguard newspaper, and it's telling us still about what we talked about yesterday, very much in the fore. Buhari, there's Jonathan, and that is the headline, major story, arrest me if you can, and that is what is going on with the Vanguard newspaper. Says only election thieves are afraid of his words. And another writer goes on to say, we stand by Buhari's comment on 2015, says CPC, and his warning must be heeded, says ACN. That is coming from ACN. And of course we have another headline story, Edo Guba race, INEC summons Oshomole, of course, and Arubere. We know that these are stories, but you definitely have to read them, because definitely they will tell you what's happening in the Nigerian polity. The pages are on the front pages to get you know the headline story thriving on page 5 and consecutively on page 2. And that is Vanguard newspaper. The Nation, and let's see what they're bringing the polity this morning, talking about 2015. Says 2015, ACN joins Buhari CPC to attack presidency. That is quite new. And we have another one saying Ariwa Forum on Raw, power belongs to God. That is coming from Ariwa Forum. And the NJC to stand by decision on Salami is another headline story making waves in the Nation. Justice Minister, I have not been briefed. And that is as a writer on the NJC matter. The Daily Sun newspaper is still talking about Jonathan and Buhari. Says Ojuku's MPN secret revealed. And that is on page 9, just above the headline story. But the major headline story for the Daily Sun still states that Jonathan plans to arrest me, Buhari says. Power belongs to God, the Senate tells ex-head of state. That's a right. And Arewa backs federal government to crush Boko Haram, and that is going on page 44 of the Daily Sun newspaper. We have above the masthead, policeman beat FRSC officer to death, few months to retirement, and that is of course coming from Daily Sun, continuing on page 5 of the Daily Sun newspaper. Now let's look at leadership and see what they're leading us with. Buhari's warning, ACN tells Jonathan, and that is a writer says Jonathan, not Buhari, is sectional leader, says CPC, and federal government warns against inciting comments, and that is coming from of course leadership newspaper. If one more on that story, go to page 5 of the leadership. Above the masthead we have why police officers are corrupt, says the IGP, and this is coming from the acting Inspector General of Police, Alhaji Mohammed Abubakar, and it's quite interesting coming from the head, who says that the fear of officers not owning a house of their own has driven them into corruption. And one will wonder why, of course, the bribery on the street. But we do hope, like they said, that has come to an end. And that is on page 5, of course, again on the leadership newspaper. We have below the masthead, more bombs uncovered in Kogi State. That is just below the insert picture of the Chief of Staff of the President, Chief Mike Oyadume, Head of Service Alhaji Sali Bello, and of course the other prominent members of the polity in that insert picture. Talking about the bombs that were uncovered in Kogi, and talking about JTF, of course, operating in Kogi State, recorded a major breakthrough yesterday and recovered some locally made bombs and sophisticated weapons in the central axis of the state. And I think that will be quite an interesting read, and it's coming from the leadership newspaper on page 5. Another interesting story is another journalist killed in Edo State just after Oshomele's man was killed, and this is going on page 4 to 6. More killings. I wonder what the security agents are doing about this. President, others pay tribute as Pascal Bafio passes on page 4 of the leadership newspaper. Now let's look at Blueprint and see what they have printed this morning, and it's talking about ACN joining, of course, Buhari and the CPC on the comments that was made by the General's General, as Victor the analyst would call him. ACN condemns presidency, PDP over attacks on Buhari, and they say we stand by him, say CPC on that rider. And of course we know that the Action Congress of Nigeria didn't denounced what is described as a crude rhetoric verbal attack on the presidential candidate of the CPC in the 2011 election, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, by the presidency. It's actually become a war of words and a war of expressions, but we hope that this is just about making Nigeria a better polity and not about political stance, as against 2015. Below that masthead, we have 6 killed in Kaduna communal clash, and that is talking about the 6 persons who were actually killed by gunmen yesterday in a communal land dispute. This is about land in Kaduna State. The police and other security operators are upon it and are trying to do the best they can, and of course find out the masterminds of this clash. Now, why education remains our top priority, says Shema, is at the bottom end below that headline in that brown insert box on page 4. So if you want more story on that, please go to page 4 of Blueprint newspaper. Now we go over to People's Dailies, and we're talking about CPC and of course the presidency and of course ACN again, but this time they have put it in these words: Jonathan is danger to Nigeria. And that is coming from CPC. Jonathan is danger to Nigeria. CPC states that is the major headline story on People's Daily. With the riders retreating, presidency plans to arrest me, says Buhari. Buhari is right on 2015 polls, ACN declares. And that is coming after there was a massive outcry over the statement that there will be bloodshed in 2015 by General Buhari. And of course, him saying that dogs will meet the baboons, or dogs will eat the baboons, I can't even remember, but something about dogs and baboons meeting each other. But we know that, of course, like we say, you have to find out on page 2 of the People's Daily to find out more on that story. And we see an instant picture of the 2 generals. Well, I call general because, of course, is the head of the people, and they wrote at the bottom and face off President Goodluck Jonathan and CPC presidential candidate General Muhammadu Buhari. You can see the expression is not one of joy, or they are not saying to each other hello or hi. Actually, it looks like 2 angry men trying to have a war of words, but I'm sure that there is more to it than meets the eye. You have to read before you can put an expression to the pictures. Now we also have other major stories going on as headline story. Land acquisition in FCT is fraud, says EFCC. Land acquisition in FCT is fraud, says EFCC. Continued on page 4. I'm sure a lot of people are curious now. What exactly is land acquisition? We have women police officers free to marry men of choice. Was that ever... well, I never thought that was a problem, but... women police officers free to marry men of choice on the bottom end of People's Daily. You will see that in the blue insert box. We have ex-NLC President Bafuta's at 65. And of course, PHCN's 88.4 billion naira gas debt cripples power supply. And that is what is driving People's Daily's newspaper. Let's go to the road and see what's on the track of the road this morning. We have ACN still talking and merging with CPC over the fights with PDP. It says ACN fights PDP with CPC and is talking about, of course, joining merging forces with General Buhari. Daily Trust, federal government wants Buhari. ACN CPC hit back at Jonathan, and that is coming from Daily Trust. Everybody seems to be going with that story. This day seems a little different. Salami mob won't decide our response, says Aduke, and that is coming from This Day newspaper, quite different, talking about Justice Aduke, the restatement of Justice Salami. National Mirror, federal government will intervene in Lagos, Doctors Row, minister says, as court halts eviction from government quarters. Nigerian Tribune, security exhumes bombs, weapons in Kogi State. And finally, Nigerian pilot says Owazurike dragged to court over Ojuko, and that is what is making news. If you want more story, it's on page 5 of the Nigerian Pilot newspaper, and of course other stories in all the major newspapers are thriving, of course, with your local vendor. Pick one paper, know what's happening, and get informed. This is Kaakaki, the African Voice. Please stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
If you didn't hear Adola run through the newspapers, well, go to your nearest vendor, she's advised you, and pick up your paper of choice. Right now, there have been, concerns over the situation in the University of Abuja in respect of unaccredited courses, facilities, and the fate of students in that school. This morning, we will bring you a package on the situation at the University of Abuja. Let's go to school and see what's happening there.
This is the primary institution of the Capital Territory
of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. No doubt, the University of Abuja has come a long way, wading through initial teething problems, bumpy terrains, and an uncertain future traced back to its takeoff point inside a 3-block primary school building in Gwagwalada. After successfully navigating the troubled waters, the University of Abuja now operates both from its main campus along Airport Road and the mini campus in Gwagwalada. In recognition of the need to give the federal capital a first-class institution of higher learning that would combine academic excellence with the pursuit of Nigeria's unity, the federal government established the University of Abuja under Act 106/1992, Cap U2 Laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 2004. The institution was mandated to run both conventional and distance learning academic programs, being the first university in the country to assume such dual mandate right at inception.
Africa is always looking for new business and surprising initiatives. From the creative joint venture to the smart businessman just around the corner, it's good news from Africa about chances and possibilities. First, do you believe in a wonder stove? We found one in Freetown, the capital of Sierra Leone. We'll see how this invention benefits the environment.
Like this, a 500-year-old school, I don't boil water. I cook the snack, I see them from there. I will even warm water now for wash or any other to keep in an affair. We will still warm.
Then we go to Nollywood, with the end from Nigeria. It's one of the biggest movie industries in the world. Still, money is needed. Who wants to invest a little and maybe earn a lot?
Well, the Nigerian movie industry is fantastic. We are growing every day. And I know very soon we're going to give Hollywood a run for their money.
We'll do some shopping too, online. And although that might sound a bit ordinary, in Ghana it's not. Afro Chic is trying to convince women to buy their clothes through the internet.
The other thing is that people are used to looking at the clothes, feeling it, wearing it, twirling around in it before they buy it. And if you have an online shop, they don't get to do that. But then, of course, they have the convenience of just sitting in their house and clicking and then having you deliver it. So we have to educate people to use that.
Our last stop is Algeria, the Saharan country with, of course, an abundance of sun. There's a plan for an enormous solar energy network. A company is already manufacturing the panels needed.
Desertec est un projet très ambitieux, c'est un projet de l'avenir. C'est à peu près ce qui a été fait pour la Lune.
back to Sierra Leone, to Freetown, where the Njai Wonder Stove caught our attention. It sounds a bit like one of those great bargains you can purchase on shopping channels, but there is more to this than meets the eye.
In Sierra Leone, many people use charcoal stoves to prepare their meals. 19 years ago, Mr. Njai brought to the market a fuel-efficient stove.
Njai first learned about efficient ovens in Kenya. He brought the idea back to Sierra Leone. After a lot of research, he developed the Wonder Stove, and in the process named it after himself.
I have done a lot of research and have come up with ways of treating the clay and adding certain ingredients which are my own trademark, not only as an instrument to help deforestation because you burn less coal, but to help women in the kitchen, smokeless environment and efficient cooking, but also the idea of making money out of it was attractive to me.
Who is Mr. Njai? He was born in Cambia, in the northern part of Sierra Leone. When he was only 17, he went to the United States to study. He got a degree in town planning. He has been a town planning officer for over 16 years before searching for new businesses and opportunities. The Wonder Stove is a success, although there are a lot of forgeries on the market. Mr. Njai filed his patent in 2003.
The patent is not being properly enforced. Many people have come into producing similar products, but not of the quality which is of international best practice.
Njai is confident that customers will eventually opt for the original product.
People still believe in the Wonder Stove.
Like this, now 500 years old, I don't boil water. I cook the snack, I see them from there. I will even warm water now for wash or any other to keep it on a fire. We will still warm.
Now we want to know, what is the secret to the Wonder Stove? We try to find out first from Mr. Njai himself.
Abuja, a befitting posture, and bring the institutional power with world-class universities in terms of academic standards and infrastructure.
The problems, at least as far as we know them, existed even before the current VC became a VC. We do not see the problem. How can the problems be reduced? The VC is a vice chancellor. He's only at the helm of affairs. So many other people have roles to play. Are they playing their roles? We cannot reduce the problems currently faced by the University of Abuja to the vice chancellor of the University of Abuja. So it's totally incorrect.
Yeah, I think people share that sort of opinion because of the way the community reacts. Actually, in the community, there are those people that believe, the situation is normal. We are undergoing a development challenge as a young university, so we cannot single out the vice chancellor as the main cause of the problem. So to us, it's a problem. So why don't we collectively resolve it, find ways together with the government, together with the students, together with the parents, together with the society, solve the problem, rather than pointing accusing finger at the vice chancellor. The question we normally ask is, if today the vice chancellor is removed, can we have accreditation of these programs tomorrow?
Great standards in veterinary medicine at the University of Abuja. The present administration under Professor James Adelabu has stepped up work at the veterinary clinic as the structure meant to house the veterinary medicine and engineering departments.
The veterinary department, our faculty of veterinary medicine, we really need to construct our teaching hospital on the campus, and for which I'm just waiting for the council to approve the construction of it, which by the grace of God, F&G, Tenders Board, and the council are all meeting next week. There's a committee which is already working on collating all the requirements of the basic minimum requirement we need for accreditation. a committee under Professor Kakulu, the Director of Academic Planning, is already collating that. So that once they finish, latest by Monday, then by Tuesday, Wednesday, those committees and the council will meet to approve. So during that time, or after that, that we start the construction of the teaching hospital, which the clinic, veterinary clinic, which the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine needs. For the engineering, well, we are still trying to, yes, in what they are working on now, to see some of the equipment we can purchase. And for the agri, equally the same thing. And if you have gone around, like you are saying, for the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, there are animals, which is one of the key things we lack, arrived today.
In line with his commitment to fulfilling the institution's mandate to provide first-class academic education to the teeming population of knowledge-seeking persons within and outside Nigeria, the present authorities of the University of Abuja are carrying out a revolution of sorts by initiating and completing numerous projects in record time and ensuring the completion of others started but not completed by previous administrations of the institution. Some of the uncompleted projects inherited by Professor Adelabu and completed under his watch include the Faculty of Agriculture building, the Center for Distance Learning CDL, now almost completed, as well as the library complex. Arguably, a functional and service-oriented library should be the largest single resource of any university. Its pride of place should be reflected both in its architecture and collection of books and journals. University of Abuja over the years had been far from realizing this ideal. But with the current tempo of work spearheaded by Professor James Adelabu, the institution will very